Ask Reddit, what's the creepiest website you've been to? Those old random accessible CCTV links got kinda sketchy sometimes. I found one that was like 5 cameras all linked up. Must have been like 2004. I was roughly 10. There was a camera in the hallway, and a camera in 4 rooms off that hallway. It looked like the worst hotel. A woman was in each room just kinda, laying around doing nothing. I assume it was some kind of effed up brothel. I had no idea at the time, got bored after a couple of minutes and clicked away. Looking back though, that was horrifying. Probably P sites in the early 2000s when I first discovered it as a teenager. You think P websites are insane now? They were just completely off the wall back then. You were probably gonna accidentally see some S you really didn't want to, that was so weird you weren't even stroking anymore, you were just confused and still watching out of curiosity and possibly horror. Also, you'd probably get about 17 viruses, some of which just locked you out of your computer and you had to reformat it entirely. Interesting times. One time I was on some P site and I stumbled across a video where it was a man and a woman literally wrestling to make the other come, like they would try to masturbate the other by force, while trying to protect themselves, and the first one to come loses. By the end I was just hypnotized to see who would win. Back in 2012, I found a website that live-streamed people's search histories for public display. No mention of how they got them. No mention of why they were there. There were at least 1,000 on there. This gore. The site is banned now, but it hosted videos of violent murders and tortures. I started watching this stuff when I was 14 and it really distorted my mind. I began to see the world in a negative way and became misanthropic. There are still alternative sites that host this stuff, but I recommend everyone stay away from it. Best Gore was the first gore site I went on. It showed me the dark side of reality, and it really opened my eyes to what humans are truly capable of. It also showed me just how fragile life is and how easily it can end. There were a lot of fatal car/work accident videos on there too. It always trips me out how enduring yet fragile we are. I've seen people survive decades with their entire insides ripped up by cancer. I've seen people survive their insides ripped up by a dog. As a rider, I've seen friends survive being thrown off a cliff by a semi. And I've seen people die because they fell gently on the just wrong part of their head. While I survived falling 6 onto my head, with blood pouring everywhere. I've seen folk die from a single punch to the nose that just splintered the wrong way. While I've also seen people survive with their brain exposed from smashing it into something. Also, maybe I should stop writing. Because I realized I've seen a lot of both, firsthand. We can survive some incredibly effed up stuff. And we can die from the sneeze of a single piece of pollen. The nausea calm. It was a photograph and video repository of human rights violations from all over the globe, spanning a period of time that started at the dawn of photography until the site suddenly vanished in the early 2000s. It had some of the most horrific things on there. Beheading, torture, you name it. All countries. It had British English spelling. It had no contact information or organizational affiliation. It simply disappeared. I've tried to find out the history of this website, but with no success. If anyone knows anything about this site, please respond. I've been puzzled by this. Okay, so I don't know about the site firsthand or anything, but I looked up the URL after seeing your comment, with quotation marks, so it would show me results where the site was mentioned, rather than taking me to something sketchy. So a commenter in a French forum from 2004 said it's an anti-war site. Another random site seems to suggest the same thing, as it says there is an article titled War Against War that was published on the site. There's a YouTube video from 2009 from someone who must have been involved with the site asking people to send in war crime videos to be hosted on the site, as the point of their project is to denounce American and Israeli war crimes. The YouTube video features a piece of contact info, but I doubt it is still in use. So ultimately, it sounds like it was a project started under that name, with the intention of bringing attention to and denouncing war by exposing people to the consequences. So it wasn't just your typical shock site like I initially assumed. So there was likely no big organization behind it. It sounds like it was a project started by a small group. I forgot what it was called, but there was a cannibal site for people who want to eat or be eaten. Some famous guy was on it for eating another man from it. I visited out of morbid curiosity since it's still accessible and was disgusted. There was a woman on there who was offering her 8-year-old son to be eaten. It was terrible. Edit. Remember. The guy was Armin Mayus and it was Cannibal Cafe. There is a forum about ending your own life and there are many guides of methods there, people telling their experiences trying to do it, where to buy poison, etc. It is very morbid and sad reading so many people planning their ending there and posting when they're going to do it. Last time I read a thread there about some girl, she was posting while she was doing it, but she came back the next day because someone found her before and took her to the hospital. I've browsed through the Silk Road and black market reloaded dark web sites maybe a decade ago on a friend's laptop that was set up for the Tor browser or whatever. You could buy anything with Bitcoin, from weapons/firearms with no serial numbers, specialized lab equipment and precursor chemicals to mass-produce different drugs, banned ebooks, all sorts of software, and of course, whatever drugs you could imagine. My curiosity ended when I saw the CP and hit contracts on people for sale. I hope they were all FBI traps. Not sure if they're even still around these days. The internet used to be the wild freaking west. Anybody who ever used LimeWire knows. I miss Napster though. There was this guy years back who was a hardcore furry stay with me. He wasn't just one of those dudes with a fursuit who went to cons like the harmless majority of them. He built these life-sized furry dolls that were pretty sexualized, though he insisted they weren't sex dolls. Dude had a wife and kids. He had this website and uploaded these odd stop-motion skits he made with the dolls. There was a Christmas one that haunts me. All the dolls, there were at LOT, in one dimly lit room, singing a Christmas carol together. The guy did the voiceover tracks himself, and I think to begin with his wife also helped. He also did blog posts with staged pictures of the dolls too. All in it was bizarre. NAMBLA's North American Man-Boy Love Association. I watched it on South Park and was amazed it was real, so I looked it up to see. Just a cesspool of monstrosity and creepiness. These guys want to lower the legal age of consent so they can have sex with minors, children, or underage boys. Most of their website was actually justifying sexual abuse and making excuses for it. Just a haven for predators. Disgusting. I like to think it's an FBI honeypot, and they start keeping tabs on people who join or visit their website. I don't even like to talk much about the totally vanilla/innocuous things I get my rocks off to. I don't see how people can just be like, yeah, I want to f kids, like it's the most normal thing ever. Have you ever visited any creepy websites? Feel free to share in the comments below. Please consider subscribing and liking for more daily videos.